about 1 minute 5 seconds before formation lap starts. Once again, with 20 seconds, I will put you on the grid.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dan McCalla. Welcome to Oulton Park in Cheshire. Just about to get underway with race 1 of the 4th of 7 rounds in the Simply Race Touring Car Championship. An exciting 15-lap racing process, in prospect, I should say, as the cars head off on their formation lap. And an interesting one as far as the champions is concerned. The top two, Callum Cripps and Jack Ashton, both absent today for personal reasons. A big opportunity for Lewis Manley, who's third, took a win last time out at Brookston, to potentially take over the championship lead. He's been in dominant form in the practice session so far. He was 7/10 clear in free practice, and he's taken pole position by half a second for this one. And he'll be very much hoping to close down and surpass that 31-point deficit that he has to Callum Cripps in the point, with a maximum of 60 up for grabs this afternoon. He's on pole position. It's Ben Brown who will start alongside him, class 2 and 22 on the front row of a 12-car grid this afternoon. Then Ben Willis, Alan Christopher, Ben Pennyworth, and John Dean Smith from the Alpines, a newcomer to the championship in the BMW, making its first appearance of touring car season. So the car's heading towards the chicane at Hizzies and then to Knickerbrook, 15-lap race. Quite a bit of spread between the field during the warm-up lap. Lewis Manley very much in charge, avoid any making big errors, and he can look after his tyres, of course, and he should be in a good position to add to his that winner he took in race 1, the only win 9 races so far this season. Here is confirmation of the grid: Manley and Brown on the front row, then Ben Willis and Alan Christopher on row 2. Then we go back to row 3. Ben Pennyworth had a difficult time in the Alpine race earlier on. John Dean Smith took 2 podiums in those races. He's on the option tyre as well, as is Max Spooner in 7th. Chris Wilson rounds out row 4. Then it's Colin Talbot. He had a podium at Brookston as well. Then Michael Tyler, Nathan Burton, who's the third of 3 drivers on the option tyre, starting 11th, and Shamak Glodek rounding out the field as well. So that's Manley and Brown on row 1, Willis and Christopher on row 2, Pennyworth and Dean Smith on row 3, Spooner and Wilson on row 4, Talbot and Tyler on row 5, Burton, Glodek bringing up the rear. Three exciting races to come for you over the next couple of hours or so. 15 laps each of the 2.3-mile island configuration at Oulton Park. Weather is good, cars are lining up on the grid, and we are getting ready to go for race 1. Manley, the inside line going to Old Hall, the first corner, Brown on the outside, and then Willis behind him. The red lights are on and the race starts now. A bit of a slow start from Max Spoon. He might get swamped by the rest of the cars in the midfield, but it's Manley who leads away. Then Brown, then Willis. Christopher going to take a nice wide line. It's fairly can go Old Hall. I think Christopher trying to come around the outside. He's gone way off onto the grass here, and that's leaving him vulnerable to Ben Pennyworth. Manley coming under attack from Ben Brown, trying to go all around the outside of him. As they go into Cascade, there's a yellow flag of an instant further back, but it's Manley, then Brown, then Willis, and Christopher has held off Pennyworth for the time being as they come down to the hairpin at Island for the very first time. Round they go. Manley has the advantage from Brown, then Willis and Christopher. We're watching John Dean Smith. He's dropped 1 place back to 7th. Chris Wilson's got ahead of him. He's got Colin Talbot. They come over Hilltop and down to Hizzies for the first time of 15. Colin Talbot has a bit of a look. Can't quite get it done. They come through the right, then the left. Then they come into Knickerbrook. and we've got an off, and that's Ben Brown. Ben Brown, who was in second place, has gone off at Hizzies on the first lap, and he's going to fall right to the back of the field, even behind Max Spooner as well. Absolute disaster for Ben Brown. There's a replay in the picture-in-picture box, through the right, into the left. Oh, he's taken way too much, and he's hit the tyre on the inside. Just took too much curve, too much of an aggressive line, and it's put him right to car number 22, right to the back of the field. So down they come to Lod. There was a move. There's Shamak Glodic making a big lunge there at Nathan Burton in the background, and he got him as well. Really good move by Shamak Glodic from the next postcode, and he's got himself up. He started right at the back, and he's up to 7th place at the end of the first lap. It's Lewis Manley who leads by just under 1 second from Ben Willis. Adam Christopher is third, just ahead of Ben Bennyworth. Then Chris Wilson. John Dean Smith is in 6th place. Then it's Glodic, Talbot, Burton, Tyler, and then the recovering Brown and Spooner, bringing up the rear on an action-packed first lap of 50. There is Shamak Glodic, very much the man on the move, and uncharacteristically difficult qualifiers. And big move up the inside from way back by Colin Talbot. Very, very optimistic with the hairpin, and he's gone off into the barriers. Way, way too far back for Colin to make that move stick. Shamak Glodic survives for the time being, and I hope we're going to get to him replay that coming up in the bottom right-hand corner. He's way, way back. I don't know if it was a lock-up or a move. I've got a chance to have a chat with him later. We'll find out. But he was nowhere close to making that move stick, and he has fallen well back. I think he's still ahead of Max Spooner, but he is towards the back of the field. We return back to the battle for 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. We've got Christopher, Bennyworth, Wilson, and a little bit back to John Dean Smith. 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. That is a slow-moving car. I don't want to work out who that was, and I think that's Ben Willis. Ben Willis has gone off, I think, coming out of Druids, and that's who that group has managed to swallow up. Christopher's got past, Bennyworth's got past, and now Ben Willis has dropped back to 4th place. He's trying to get 3rd back from Bennyworth as he comes into Old Hall for the 3rd time, but he's now dropped back, and that means that Lewis Manley suddenly has found himself with a lead of over 3.5 seconds just 2 laps into the race. And that's good news for him, because it means he can take it a little bit easier on his tyres and manage this race with such a good advantage so early on. So it's Manley, then it's Christopher, then Bennyworth and Willis you're looking at now. Bennyworth holding on the inside, Willis is 4th, and then it's Wilson and Dean Smith 5th and 6th. Oh, we're going to contact, and it was Chris Wilson having a very late lunge up the inside, couldn't get it done, ceded the place and has to stick for 5th for the time being, and that was Ben Willis, just got the line wrong into Druids, gone well off, glanced off the barriers. I thought I saw a bit of dust being chucked up on the outside, but he has managed to rejoin, although Christopher and Bennyworth have both managed to get past. Ben Willis will want to try and recover. The two Bens who were chasing Lewis Manley have both come to grief in the early stage of this race, but it's also very interesting to look at the gap between 1st and 2nd, because at the start of this lap it was 3.6 seconds between Lewis Manley and Adam Christopher. The gap is now down to 2.9. Now, has Manley made a mistake? Is that Adam Christopher coming into his own? Now he's in clean air. Is Manley looking after his tyres? I think it will all become apparent over the next few laps, but that gap has come down significantly over the course of this 3rd lap. Over the line they come. Just looking at the lap times that time round. Well, Lewis Manley's best is a 25.5. He did a 26.9 that time around, and we're looking at, I think that's Nathan Burton there, who's made another error, and he's fallen back behind Colin Talbot. He's gone well off at Druids. Very similar incident to what we saw happen to Ben Willis. He's back to 11th. Just come back to Lewis Manley's lap times. He did a 25.5 fastest lap. He did a 26.9 last time round. So I think it was more down to a mistake he's made somewhere around that lap. I think probably in sector 1 more than anywhere else. And that's what's allowed Adam Christopher to close that gap slightly. So Manley leads Christopher. Bennyworth has gone wide out of the hairpin. It's going to give Ben Willis a chance to attack and try and retake that 3rd place. Bennyworth goes very defensive as they come into the left and right of Hizzies. Chris Wilson there in 5th, coming in increasing pressure. John Dean Smith, who hasn't quite got his line right through Hizzies, but some good battles here, merging for 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th. Adam Christopher's got the gap down to less than 2.5 seconds now at the front, so he may well have a race on for the win. Christopher and Manley have 1 win each so far this year. They're 3rd and 5th coming into the championship coming into this weekend, both hoping for big points with the top 2 absent. Down to Lodge, effectively the final corner before they come through the flat-out rise over the crest of Deerley, past that precariously sat Marshall's post and back over the line. Bennyworth, things just bogged down. He's hit the bumps, and it might be that Willis fancies to go up the inside into Alt Paul. Picked up big double the inside. Bennyworth saw him coming, takes a very, very wide line to try and come back past on the inside, and can't quite do it. And Ben Willis manages to retake third place in car number 85 at the start of lap 5. It's Manley, Christopher, Willis, Bennyworth, Wilson still just ahead of John Dean Smith, and Glodek, Brown, Tyler and Colin Talbot rounding out the top 10. The gap at the front is down to 2.1 seconds. Manley did a 26.7 last time round. Christopher did a 26.0. The gap's down to 2.2 seconds. Christopher's taken another 2/10 out of him in the first sector of this lap. And Adam Christopher, he pulled well clear of this gap, and he is really feeling like he might be able to chase him down and take the win here. Picture in picture, this is Talbot and Burton. This is the fight for 10th place. Coming through Cascades. That's in your picture in picture. We'll keep an eye on that. Still not much to separate. Willis, Bennyworth, Wilson, Dean Smith, just 2 seconds between the quartet in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th places, and plenty going on here. Can't believe we're only on lap 5 out of 15. There's been plenty to save us so far, even with the top 2 in the championship not here. Just waiting for the leaders to come up to the line, and we'll just have a look what the lap times are this time round, because I think Manley might have pulled out a little bit more of a gap. He certainly has in sector 2. 26.3 for Manley, 26.4 for Christopher. The gap's back out to 2.6 seconds, so a bit of an improvement that time for Lewis Manley compared to his previous 2 laps. On to lap 6, we go on board with John Dean Smith in 6th place through the avenue, down into 4th gear, into the long left of Cascade, then out onto the international loop. We're looking at Chris Wilson ahead of him into 5th. He should come into 6th gear as well. It's only 5th in the Alpine, but his notice stays in 5th. Then 4th, 3rd, 2nd, down to 1st gear. That tight island hairpin. Back on the power, over hilltop, then the run down towards Hizzies. Will JDS fancy a move into this corner? No, I don't. Just quite close enough to make a move. But this, bear in mind, his very first touring car race, been racing in the Alpines the last couple of rounds. And it looks like Burton and Talbot have had some more grief, having a great scrap well down the field over 10th position. And we're going to see a replay here to find out exactly what happened as they came into the hairpin. Was it a lock-up? Was it a move? It was a big lock-up. And Colin Talbot, eyes in the back of his head and in his mirrors, saw him coming. And so let Nathan get the move, and I'm sure Colin Talbot will be back to try and reclaim that 10th position. Up to the end of lap 6. I think Manley slightly quicker again on this lap at 27.0. The lap times really have fallen off. 27.3 for Christopher, 26.3 for Ben Willis, who's now less than 1 second behind Adam Christopher, and he's really made good progress. He tries to recover the 2nd place that he lost with that error early on. You can just see in the distance there that Ben Willis is a lot closer to Adam Christopher than he was just a lap and a half ago. We go on board with him now. You see Lewis Manley in the distance there. Christopher, then Willis closing up to him once again as they come out of the island hairpin, over hilltop once again on lap 7. Really is a balance of the tyres here. It was John Dean Smith, Max Spooner and Nathan Burton were the 3 drivers in this race on soft tyres. John Dean Smith, the only one really doing anything with it, so in the 6th place he started. And look at that, Ben Willis is all over the back of Adam Christopher now. Don't know whether Christopher's made a mistake or his tyres are going off, but Ben Willis has made up a huge amount of time in just a couple of laps, and he wants to try and take back that 2nd place. Ben Willis had 3 podium finishes at Thruxton last time out, and he's going on hunt of his first win of the campaign here. Through Druids, down to Lodge. We come towards half distance. 7 laps completed at the end of this one. There'll be 8 more to go. Out of Lodge, downhill, back up through Deer Lee. The lap times will tell their own story as they come to this lap, because Ben Willis is much quicker than Adam Christopher. 26.8 for Manley, 27.2 for Christopher, 26.6 for Ben Willis. He is the fastest man on track as we get to the halfway point of race 1. Lewis Manley's lead is back up to 3 seconds as a result. Ben Willis, if he fancies his chances of winning this race, needs to clear Adam Christopher really within the next lap or 2 if he's then to try and chase down the man who's the highest ranked driver in the championship coming into this weekend, who is taking part. into the hairpin. It's nose to tail, meanwhile, 4th, 5th and 6th. And old Chris Wilson, I think, just went wide there. I don't know if any contact, I'm not sure there was, but it's allowed John Dean Smith to move up into 5th spot. Looked like it was just a bit of a lock-up as we cut to it. Here's the replay. There's Wilson. I don't know if there was any contact, but just got his braking point wrong. And yeah, he just missed his turning point. Just couldn't quite get the car slowed down in time. And John Dean Smith says thank you very much. And he moves up on his SRTCC debut into P5. We return to the battle for second as we go into the second half of the race. Ben Willis has got a good run through. You see how much quicker he was through Druid there. That would suggest to me that maybe there are problems with tyre wear for Adam Christopher. I'm sure Grant Lyman will find out at the end of the race when we interviews the top 3. And this is allowance. I think the guys coming at behind maybe to come back more into play a little bit, because the gap between Willis and Bennyworth is still less than 2 seconds here. We've got a replay here of Shamak Glodek, who's having all sorts of a battle with the recovering Ben Brown. That's the battle for 7th place. Currently being decided in Brown's favour as we move on to lap 9. Manley in control, 3 seconds ahead. Christopher and Willis nose to tail. John Dean Smith on the soft tyre, remember. Clear Chris Wilson. Now want to have a go at Ben Bennyworth for 4th. He's going to go very, very wide as Bennyworth goes defensive. Dean Smith breaks a lot later, but I don't think he'll go all around the outside. Going to take a very late apex and cut in. Can't quite do it. Always tries to get on the power a little bit too early there. A little bit over eager to try and get the run down, but he wants to make this soft tyre work for him as we go into the latter stages of the race. Back down to Hizzies, the port named after the late 2-time British Superbike champion Steve Hislop. Into Knickerbrook. I would explain why that corner's named like that, but it's not broadcastable. Back up over the hill. And look at Willis. Christopher shutting the door at the last minute. And Willis looking this way and that as they come into Druids. Now, Christopher's line through Druids here is going to be compromised. And it might give Willis, if we go on board with him, the chance to have a go into Lodge. Christopher's going to have to go defensive. How defensive he wants to go. Willis goes to the outside. He's going to try and go all the way around him. Can't quite do it. Lodge isn't quite a slow enough corner to make that happen. Yellow flag sector 3. I don't know if anything's happened to anyone. We'll keep you up to date with that. 6 laps to go. The main battle is here between the 28 of Adam Christopher and the 85 of Ben Willis for 2nd place. Lewis Manley in control. Looks like he's on course for the win. Willis is right on the back of him. Can't quite find the gap. And Adam Christopher, well, we saw his stout defence trying to get a win in race 1. Or get podium rather in race 1 at Thruxton. Resulted in, unfortunately, a big accident at the end. No real fault either way. And once again, he is proving his very, very adept defensive skills to keep Ben Willis at bay. John Dean Smith has got back on to the rear of Ben Bennyworth in the fight for 4th spot, just a couple of seconds down the road with 5.5 laps to go. We'll focus on the battle for 2nd spot for the time being. Christopher a little bit wide, very, very wide, and it's ruined it. Oh, almost got it. I think it was a bit of contact. Christopher came back over. I don't think there was anything malicious in it either way, but Christopher came back over to take the line, having lost control, and there was just a little bit of contact. Thankfully, nobody went off. We'll have a look on the onboard now as we go picture in picture again, and look how much closer Ben Bennyworth and John Dean Smith have got of the incident. Compromised line all the way through from Christopher, and he's just, and Ben Willis just about managed to get out the throttle in time. It didn't look to me, my own personal opinion, that there was anything malicious in there, and they do remain 2nd and 3rd for the time being. Go into the last 5 laps of what's been an absorbing opening race here at Oulton Park. Lewis Manley very much in control, 4 seconds to the good. Then it's Christopher, Willis, Bennyworth, Dean Smith, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Then it's Chris Wilson, Ben Brown, Michael Tyler, Nathan Burton, who's having a great run just ahead of Shamak Glodek at the moment in the battle for the last 2 spots in top 10. If I just said it from Talbot, I should say Talbot 10th, Glodek 11th. Into the hair once more. Wide line, Christopher. Just enough gap to play with so we get to the better run. Should be able to hold the position on as they go through Hizzies and into Knickerbrook again. This is the 11th time out of 15. Better line from Christopher than he took on the previous lap. Through Knickerbrook. Now they head back up the hill once again, back up Play Hill. Christopher Willis, Bennyworth, Dean Smith, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Less than 2 seconds between the 4 of them. Druids down to Lodge. Lock up from Ben Bennyworth, still trying to defend John Dean Smith. 4 laps to go as they come to the line this time, and Ben Willis is right on the back of it. I think he's going to fancy a go on Adam Christopher here as they come into Old Hall. He might have a go. It'll be a big dive now because Christopher had a little bit better traction. They came over the line. He doesn't do it this time around. Very, very wide line though. He's really pushing to the limit and more now, Adam Christopher, to try and hold on to this second place. And we go on board with Ben Willis once again as they come into Cascades. On the power, Christopher's forced out wide, and that might give Ben Willis the chance he needs. Christopher will undoubtedly go defensive. He feels like he's got enough space behind him to take the racing line, but he's gone wide. He's just about missed his braking point, and that's going to give Ben Willis all the opportunity to get into second place. There's a little bit of contact between Bennyworth and Dean Smith in the background as well as the fight for fourth continues. Max Spooner at the back of the field has come into the pit. We'll chase up and find out what happened to him a little bit later on, but Ben Willis lost that second place and fell down to fourth after going off on lap 2. It's taken him 10 laps, but he's managed to redeem himself, get back up into P2, and now the fight is on for Adam Christopher to hang on to the podium because he's got Ben Bennyworth and John Dean Smith full at his mirrors, and we are in for an exciting battle for the last podium spot in the 3 and a bit laps that we have to go. John Dean Smith, is he going to keep it on? Oh, almost ran up the back of Ben Bennyworth, just got beat wrong into Druids. I think Ben Bennyworth got distracted a bit because he's run just a little bit onto the grass coming on the exit as well. We are on board with Ben Bennyworth. There's a move here from Ben Brown trying to cover and go on early on Chris Wilson. That's for 6th place. Just gone wide, might not be able to get it done as the teammates come up to the line once again. And Adam Christopher still having to defend so hard. 3 laps to go in race 1. It'll be a second win of the season, barring disaster now for Lewis Manley. It looks like Ben Willis is 2 seconds clear in that second place. Good recovery for him, but who is going to finish third? Well, this great bouncing Wilson and Brown as well. A little bit of contact that come through Cascades, but I think it's getting very close now for third, and John Dean Smith trying to go around the outside of Benny with the hairpin. Adam Christopher goes wide again, bit too wide, he just can't get it turned, and Bennyworth through. Bennyworth through, second lap in her, and Adam Christopher with tyre wear just cannot get that car turned around the hairpin, and it's allowed Ben Bennyworth into third. Now will John Dean Smith fancy his chances as they come into Hizzies? He's going to go up the inside, and I think Adam Christopher saw the writing on the wall there. I think he just knew he couldn't get it turned in and held him off, and it's all action at Hizzies now because Ben Brown has managed to get the move done on Chris Wilson and move up to 6th place. There's action everywhere you look at Oulton Park this afternoon. So just over 2 laps to go. John Dean Smith already had 2 third places today in the Alpine race earlier on. Can he pick up another one, take full advantage of this soft tyre, and nick third from Ben Bennyworth here with 2 laps and 1 corner to go? Or Ben Bennyworth's gone very wide coming out of Lodge as well. That might give John Dean Smith in the rear-wheel drive BMW all the opportunity he needs. We go on board with him now. He's side by side with him. I think he might actually be ahead over the line. He is, and he's going to get it done into Old Hall. Hopefully he won't compromise his line too much. And a great move. 6th, he dropped to 7th. Oh, he's got very wide, but I think he's just about held it off. But Ben Bennyworth's going to come back at him. Great racing it into the avenue and then down to Cascades. Ben Bennyworth just tried to shut the door a little bit, but he wasn't there. That door was full of BMW, and John Dean Smith, with 2 laps to go, is up into what would be his third place of the day. A great effort in his very first touring car race. Round the island hairpin on the penultimate lap. What an absolutely brilliant race to start the day. Lewis Manley and Ben Willis looking very secure in first and second, and it looks like John Dean Smith is going to take third place. It's going to be a superb result for him with that BMW. Ben Bennyworth and Adam Christopher 4th and 5th, and it doesn't look like they've got the pace to respond late in the race. Just a quick note about the leaders. I'm hoping for Lewis Manley's sake that he's just managing the gap, because it was about 4 seconds and it's down to 1.9. Now you'd hope that's Lewis Manley just managing the gap, taking care of things and not taking any risk, get towards the end. There's just over a lap to go, but you never know what might happen. Shamek Glodic has come into the pit, so looks like we've lost him as well. And we go on board with Ben Willis, and we're looking ahead to your leader as they come across the line to start the last lap. The gap at the line is 1.6 seconds, a 27.7 for Lewis Manley, a 26.7 for Ben Willis, who's clearly pushing on, but he's going to need more than that. He's probably going to need a big error for Manley if he's to snatch this win. A bit of a lock-up of the brake from Manley's there as they come into Cascades for the final time. Back out onto the island loop and down towards the hairpin. And Lewis Manley surely has got enough of a gap, even if he doesn't take any major risks into the hairpin. And look how much closer Ben Willis. You can see how hard he was really deep on the brakes into the hairpin there. And he's doing everything he can to get back on terms. You think hindsight's a wonderful thing. If Ben Willis hadn't gone off so early on, what a good race we might have had there. There's been a change for third, though. Ben Bennyworth's back into third spot. I don't know if John Dean Smith has made a mistake, but Ben Bennyworth has taken third place back on the very last lap. He didn't seem to be close enough to him. I don't know whether John D. Smith's made a mistake. He's gone off and way too far off at the hairpin. He'll be absolutely distraught with that to potentially see a podium go down the road. Let's let Ben Bennyworth back in. Ben Bennyworth, fourth in the championship. Believe it or not, this would be his first podium of the whole season in race number 10. But here are your leaders, and it's not quite going to be enough for Ben Willis, I don't think. There's an absolute disaster at Lodge. The battle for third still raging, though. I think John D. Smith can have a go into Lodge. I think it's going to be Lewis Manley that wins the race. Ben Willis is going to be second. Big move coming into the last corner, and John D. Smith well up the inside at Lodge. Manley's going to win it. Ben Willis is going to be second. It's going to be almost a photo finish. Who's going to finish third? I can't tell who's going to be. It's going to be Ben Bennyworth just by about a car length. Over the line, absolutely stunning. With just over a tenth of a second at the end. Cracking race. Lewis Manley only less than a second ahead at the flag in the end. Ben Willis second. Ben Bennyworth gets his first podium of the season in third. Fourth is still a great result for John Dean Smith on his very first race in touring cars. Fifth for Adam Christopher, suffering with his tyre towards the end. The recovering Ben Brown in sixth. Then it was Chris Wilson, Michael Tyler, Nathan Burton, Colin Talbot, and then Max Spooner and Shamak Glodic both had to pit in the second half of the race. Well, what a start to today's action, and the best thing about it, we've got two more races to come to enjoy as well. But a win for Lewis Manley and 20 points. It moves him up to 151. He's only second, I believe, now in the championship. 11 behind Callum Cripps, so a good result in race 2 will put him into the points lead. Manley, Willis, let me start again. Manley, Willis and Benny with the top 3 after an absolutely exhilarating race 1 here at Oulton Park.
after a thrilling end to the first race. We're joined with our top 3 drivers. We're going to start with Ben Bennyworth. Bit of an exciting way towards the line, wasn't it? A bit of a cool fight there with Mr. John Dean Smith.
Dean Smith, yeah, no, that was pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie. Managed to get an okay start, and then kind of settled in, just tucking behind Adam, and then I think Ben Willis went off a little bit, and then he got past us, and then and and then John Dean Smith caught us up. Was just on the back of us for the whole of that race, and then he got past us. And then I thought the moment he passed me, I thought that's it, he's got it. And then he obviously went wide going into the hairpin on the last lap. Yeah, that was it. Drag race to the line and managed to hold him off.
Really nice, clean battling throughout the race itself. Not a single steward's complaint was made through the race, which makes a nice change. But a very nice race to watch for the viewers. Was it more stressful inside the sim than it was for us watching?
Definitely stressful. Yeah, I was knackered after that race. I have to be honest. Yeah, that was definitely stressful. Definitely stressful. Definitely stressful.
Okay, awesome. Ready for race 2. Obviously, battle's going to recommence. John's probably going to be even hungrier to get that position off of you. So, any strategies going into turn 1?
Well, I mean, I'm on the softs for this race, and the mediums went off very, very quickly in that last race. So I have no idea how these softs are going to handle. I mean, if these mediums get shot after 15 laps, I have no idea what these softs are going to be like. So we're just going to have to hold on for dear life.
Awesome. Well, good luck with that. We'll maybe join you again later on in the day. We're going to get in our second place driver now, Ben Willis. So, Ben, if you want to, oops, careful, maybe go in and out through the sim way, if that's possible. Apologies, guys. I know it's a bit awkward, but this is so that people can actually hear you at home, because before all they heard was weird static noises. So we're now joined by Ben Willis in P2. Sorry? Okay, fine. Sorry, I've got someone in my ear. Yeah, we're professional now. Except that wasn't, but you know, it's fine. So well done, Ben. Nice race there. Like lots of overtaking, and we're starting to bring Will Lewis in at the end there as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Based on qualifying and practice, I've been struggling a bit with understeer, just not really feeling the handling of the car very well. Struggling a lot with the braking, but that came together somehow. Started really well, had a little trip into the barrier like lap 2, so dropped behind Adam, and after that just tried to battle my way through. Almost got Lewis at the end, so see what we can do in race 2.
Yeah, it looked really interesting. I mean, obviously that's just going to resume now into the second race. Have you gone for the softs in race 2? I can't remember if you have or not. No, okay, so you're softs in race 3. Okay, so it's level peggings then, medium versus medium. So it's going to be interesting battle resumption, because it looked a little easy for Lewis at first, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't know if he was tyre saving or anything, but yeah, just seemed to really catch up to him towards the end, and then I think 1 or 2 more laps maybe we could have got him. So try again in race 2 if we're level machinery, then let's go for it.
Awesome. Well, good luck for race 2. We might be joined by you again later on for the post-race 2 interviews or post-race 3 interviews. Now we're going to bring our race winner in from round 1, Lewis Manley. Lewis, if you just want to position yourself just around here, that'd be great. Maybe a little closer for me, just near that wire for me. Lovely, perfect. So well done, Lewis. Exactly what you wanted, really. Your main title contender's not here, missing the round today, and doing exactly what you need to do from the get-go.
Exactly. I wanted to pull away at the start. That was the key, as Ben went too deep at Druids on lap 2, so that gave me a bit of breathing space. So really delighted to start like this. So pole position, fastest lap race win, couldn't have asked for better. And I had a comfortable gap at halfway. And Ben at the end was really closing. I thought, where did that come from? So thankfully I had enough to win. So I think a lap or 2 might have looked interesting.
Race 2, going to be looking in your mirrors a little bit more, because obviously Willis will be starting behind you for race 2. So I'm guessing the strategy is going to be the same. Just try and get away as much as you can, and then try and hold him off through the race, I'm guessing.
Pretty much, because it's quite narrow, this circuit, because Oulton Park's quite tricky to overtake, but there's possibilities. But as he produced that awesome pace towards the end of the race, he could pretty much give me a good threat in race 2. But obviously, I've got to do the same thing as I can and hopefully again pull away and just try and keep my lead, not trying to make any mistakes. So hopefully a repeat from race 1 into race 2.
A nice start to the fight back. Awesome. Well, we will leave it at that for now, Lewis. We'll probably be talking to you again throughout the day, but we'll go back to Dane and Dan. We'll get race 2 started very shortly.
Boo! Welcome back to Oulton Park, slightly ahead of schedule for race 2. Formation lap already underway. If you weren't here for race 1, where on earth have you been? Please make sure you come back and join us and watch it back anytime. Just rewind your current video or watch it on demand later on, because it was an absolute cracker. Although we are slightly going to give the result away of that race, because the result of that race is the grid for this one. Lewis Manley has taken that second win of the season, although Ben Willis was chasing him down towards the end of the race, so there's only less than a second between them at the end. But it was a second win of the season for Lewis Manley, and it means that if he finishes in the top 4 in this race, he will take over the championship lead. If you're just joining us, the top 2 in the championship, Callum Cripps and Jack Ashton, both absent today because of personal commitments. So a chance for Lewis Manley to capitalise and take big points here. So you can see on the timing tower on the left-hand side of your screen as they go round on this formation lap ahead of this 15-lap race. You can see the grid there. Lewis Manley and Ben Willis on the front row. Ben Bennyworth starts third. What a great scrap he had with touring car debutant John Dean Smith. And the last lap of race 1 there, third and fourth, so they are on row 2. Adam Christopher really suffering. He said he was down to 2% tyre wear by the end of the race in race 1. I don't know what happens when you get to 0. I'd like to find out. So that's why he fell back to 5th. He was second at one point. Ben Brown, who was second early on, he starts 6th. Then we have Chris Wilson, Michael Tyler, the ever wild Colin Talbot, Nathan Burton, and then Max Spooner and Chamak Lodek, who both came into the pit. They will start towards the back of the grid. We have 5 drivers on the soft option tyre. Which to choose, the hard or soft option for this one. Ben Bennyworth, Adam Christopher, they're both on the soft tyre for this one, as is Ben Brown, as is Chris Wilson, and Michael Tyler is as well. So if you look at that gaggle of cars starting between 3rd and 8th on the grid, all of them, apart from John Dean Smith, are on the soft tyre. John Dean Smith used his to great effect in race 1 and came within a couple of 100 metres, getting on the podium for Ben Bennyworth, beating him right to the line. An epic last lap battle there, the 3rd spot. So those are the cars then. They come to the front of the grid, Manley and Willis. And if Ben Willis can avoid that, they had an off on lap 2 of race 1. If you're going to cut out that error, he's got a good chance of making a bit of a race here and giving Lewis Manley a real run for his money. Willis on a run now of 4 podiums in a row, but yet to win one this season. Bennyworth, watch out for D. Smith, that fast-starting rear-wheel drive red BMW on row 2. Keep an eye out for that as well. And then Adam Christopher and Ben Brown. The red lights are on, and the race starts. Now away we go. Very good start from Ben Willis, but he's trapped on the outside line as they come towards Old Hall for the first time. It's going to be Manley, Willis, then Bennyworth. I think Adam Christopher might have just about got off the inside of John D. Smith for 4 spots. They come through the avenue into Cascade. Dean Smith was forced wide. Adam Christopher's got through. I think Ben Brown might have got through as well. He's on the outside as they come into Cascade, and Dean Smith has just managed to hang on. He's just really tried to shut the door, but it's a Land Cruiser. Come back through it. Oh, Dean Smith and Brown collide. John Dean Smith tried to shut the door. There just wasn't quite enough room. He's been forced off. He'll rejoin at the back of the field as they come into the hairpin for the very first time. It's Manley, Willis and Bennyworth, your top 3. Here's a replay. John Dean Smith ahead, just trying to shut the door there, and Ben Brown just sort of leaving his foot in and spinning around the rear-wheel drive BMW, who's now got to try and mount a bit of a recovery action through the field. So we return to the midfield battle. Ben Brown is also trying to recover. He's in 7th place. He's got Colin Talbot right behind him. They're both behind Chamak Lodek, who once again has capitalised on first lap mayhem. He went from 12th to 7th at the start of race 1. He's gone from 12th to 6th in this one. That looked like Max Spooner around the time. Max Spooner's gone well off at Druids. Oh, big crash as he tried on the outside of Colin Talbot. Got his line completely wrong. And unfortunately, another race for Max Spooner that has come unstuck in the very early stages. So once again, lots to enjoy on this first lap of race 2. It's Lewis Manley who leads, but only by 0.6 of a second from Ben Willis. Ben Bennyworth is 3rd, then Adam Christopher, Chris Wilson, Chamak Lodek is 6th, then it's Brown, Talbot, Tyler Burton, and the recovering Dean Smith and Max Spooner bringing up the rear as we go on to lap 2 out of 15. Then we just need a moment to kind of gather our thoughts and gather our breath, because there was plenty of action there to enjoy on the opening lap here at Oulton Park. We're looking at Colin Talbot. He's in 8th place. Had a podium in race 1 at Thruxton, remember. A great result that was after he started, it went from 8th to 3rd in that race. We benefited from a big 3-car accident towards the end. There's Ben Brown. I'm sure there will be some stewing-related conversation with that between Brown and John Dean Smith. That will, of course, be investigated by the Simply Race team after the race. So Ben Brown will continue on for the time being and try and chase down Shamak Glodek, who's gone onto the grass, and that will give Ben Brown a chance to come through Nickerbrook, get a good run up Clay Hill, and try and relieve him of 6th place. He's going to get on the right-hand side, so he can stick around the outside. That will give him the inside for Druid. Glodek takes a lot of curb. Brown's on the grass on the outside, round the left and into the right. Glodek almost going rally cross there as they come into Druid, and Brown gets the move done. Good bit of brave driving, all set up all the way back there, as you can see on the picture-in-picture briefly, after Shamak Glodek ran wide coming through Hizzies. Ben Brown recovering, car number 22, Cam Sport, and he's back up into P6. 2 laps down, lap times 25.1 for Lewis Manley. That's a great lap. Very much pole position was at 24.4, and it's allowed him to build up a 1.3 second lead over Ben Willis at the end of lap 2. Manley, Willis, Bennyworth, Christopher, Wilson, Brown, Glodek, Talbot, and we're on board in 9th place with Michael Tyler, looking ahead at Colin Talbot in 8 spots. They come down into the long left-hander of Castaigne. You just want to get back onto the power as early as you can, heading out the international loop. You see the lake on the left-hand side, and then they come up to the island hairpin for the 3rd time out of 15. And old Colin Talbot's gone straight on. Just outbraked himself. He admitted he did it in race 1 when he had a wild one. I had a chat with him at the end of race 1. He admitted he outbraked himself, and he's done it again there. And that's going to give Michael Tyler a chance to relieve him of 8th position. Is he going to have a go up the inside? Not into Hizzies, he won't. And they remain 8th and 9th for the time being. And they had that. And in a moment, they're going to have the recovering John Dean Smith to worry about, because he's only just over 1 second behind them. We'll have to have a look at the leaders at one point, because Ben Willis having a much better lap this time round. 4 tenths quicker than Lewis Manley in the first sector. 4 tenths quicker than Lewis Manley in the second sector, and he's now only 6 tenths behind him. So it looks like a really good battle brewing. We turn to the leaders now. Thank you, Mr. Director Man. And they come over the line to complete lap 3, and you can see there really isn't much between Manley and Willis at all as they start lap 4 into Old Hall. Get on the power, and all Willis giving all the track and then some. Doesn't want to reach track limits too many times. They come through the avenue into Cascade once again. Little bit of a lock up from Manley. And Brown, they go back onto the island loop. Really, really nice battle developing here. We go back to the battle for 8th, 9th and 10th. Talbot, Tyler and John Dean Smith. Big wide line there by JDS as he comes through Cascades. Down to the hairpin. And Talbot down onto that brake pedal, try and get it stopped. Coming into the hairpin, nice wide line coming onto the outside of it. Talbot, Tyler, Dean Smith remain P8, 9 and 10. Just looking through the timing screen, I think Chris Wilson and Ben Brown, the teammates, there's a good battle going on there for 5th and 6th spot, but we stay with P8, 9 and 10 for the time being. Through Knickerbrook. Unsighted entry. It's a difficult one to get on the power and turn it in at the right time, probably more than just about any other corner around this 2.3 mile track. And up Clay Hill, left a couple of times, and then the double apex right of Druids. Round they come. Over the crest, you go to the right hand side, there's some nasty bumps on the left, you go under the main entrance bridge, and then down into Logs, the final meaningful corner. And through they come, and through the dip, over Deer Leap, up across the line once again. Ben Willis still only half a second behind Lewis Manley at the front of the field as we go on to lap 5. We go to Brown and Wilson, or Wilson and Brown I should say, as they are in that order. And well, Michael Tyler was having a go forward, a bit of a contact there with Colin Talbot as well, and John Dean Smith is getting involved. Colin Talbot still has the inside, he tries valiantly to hold on to that 8th place. Michael Tyler trying to go all the way around the wheel of death, around the outside of him. Can he get the move to get the overlap? No, he can't. But John Dean Smith might find on the other side as well. It was a bold move up the inside for Michael Tyler, you can see at Old Hall. But here we go into the hairpin, and now he should get it done. And John Dean Smith almost tries a bit of opportunism, can't quite do it. Colin Talbot hasn't finished. There's a bit of rubbing as they come back up the hill, over the hilltop. Michael Tyler back into 8th place, at least for the time being. Will Colin Talbot try and strike straight back? The answer is no. And he's got a BMW. It's going to be all over the back of him for the rest of this lap. Back to the leaders, and this is why the leaders are nose to tail. Great run. Willis pushing really hard through Druids, really giving it everything he can to have a go at Lewis Manley and see if he can get a first win of the season on the board. Ben Willis, one of the form drivers in this championship at the moment. In the last 4 races, he In the last 4 races, he has had 2 seconds and 2 thirds, and still sniffing out a win as they complete lap number 5, just a quarter of a second between them now. Wilson and Brown here, still nose to tail in 5th and 6th spots. This battle for the lead, and here comes John Deesmith on the inside. Colin Talbot, I think, was certainly discretion was the better part of valour. He's got a nice late apex here. He might have a chance to come back at him, but John Deesmith will take the optimal line through the avenue into Cascades, holding to 9th place. And look at this battle for the lead now. Over Hilltop for the 6th time, and Helgum, that's a battle for the 5th and 6th positions, and Ben Brown unsuccessfully gets past Chris Wilson. And here are the leaders back into the complex. Seen Lewis Manley control races, win them from the front, manage the tyres at the latter stage, and that's how he's won both races so far this season. How will he do? Well, he's got a chance to take the championship lead and is coming under increasingly sustained pressure, and it should be said that Ben Bennyworth isn't a million miles away either. He's less than 2 seconds off the lead. He can't be discounted either. Down to Lodge. Little bit of a lock-up from Manley. Gets it turned in, no problem though. Very aggressive line on the inside, putting the rear right wheel onto the grass. Through Dear Lead to start lap number 7 out of 15. Still just a quarter of a second between them. I mean, it's this close, this could become very much a question of who has got the tyre left towards the end of the race. We go on board with Ben Willis, almost puts the left-hand wheel on the grass going through the avenue. Into Cascade, that tiny little, almost metronomic lock-up by Lewis Manley as they come through Cascades once again. Manley going defensive now, much tighter line as they come through the hairpin. Barely a car's length between them. Who's got the better drive? Willis has got the better drive as they come through Hilltop, and Manley's actually defensive here. I mean, Willis might fancy his chances of going all the way around the outside to come into his if he can get the line right. Here they come. Manley obviously has the inside to cover, and he covers it for the time being. Goes a little bit wider as a result, and they come out of Knickerbrook, and there's contact. Willis wanted to get on with it and get the hurry up, and there's a little bit of a nudge, and Lewis Manley knows very much now it's in a motor race. And look at Ben Bennyworth, because he's less than a second off the lead now, and this is going to be 3 for the lead. Very, very quickly indeed. We go on board with Ben Bennyworth, and he has the ringside seat as this battle for the lead develops as we come towards the end of lap 7. Through Jewett, Manley goes defensive again, almost puts Willis onto the grass. Willis has to go round to the outside this time, and Lewis Manley's having to use every single trick he's got in his box to try and keep Ben Willis behind. Willis has got a great run now out of Lodge. He might be able to get the inside. Through Dear Lead, they come up to Old Hall. 8 laps still to go. There's going to be barely a car left between them as they cross the line. Manley going defensive once again. Makes the one move. That was fair enough. Willis takes the later apex. There's contact once again. Willis has clearly got the faster car at this stage in the race, but Lewis Manley is making that the widest Toyota Corolla you've probably ever seen. But Ben Bennyworth, as a result, is almost there, and it is setting up for an absolutely superb second half, I should say, of race 2. Manley, Willis, Bennyworth. That cigarette paper between them. Ben Brown has finally, I think, got past... No, he hasn't got past Chris Wilson. Had another go into the hairpin. Couldn't get it done. Chris Wilson remains in 5th place for the time being, just behind Adam Christopher. But undoubtedly, for now, we will remain with the leaders. Manley, Willis, look how hard Willis is pushing all the track and then some, super aggressive. As long as that still leaves him time for the end of the race, he's looking like the fastest car at the moment, but getting up to the back of someone is one thing, and getting past is quite another, particularly around a track as narrow as Oulton Park. This is not an easy track. If you watch the real life touring car champion, you'll know how difficult it can be to overtake here, and the same thing applies even in the virtual world as well. Down to Lodge. There's the evidence of how much arguably Lewis Manley is now holding up Ben Willis, because Ben Bennyworth was 0.6 quicker last time round. Up to the line, 7 laps to go, on board with Ben Willis. They start lap 9. He just needs a little bit of a gap, doesn't he? Just a little bit of a gap, and he will have a go. Through Avenue, down to Cascades once again. Perfect. It's great car control by Lewis Manley. It has to be said, just that tiny little bit of a lock-up at the same point every single time, just the same amount. I mean, their lap time, the fast lap of the race is 25.1 from Lewis Manley. They've dropped into the 27s now, which kind of underlines that they're not driving at their peak performance at this stage of the race. Michael Tyler, I think, has made a mistake further back because he dropped from 8th back to 11th spot. John D. Smith back up to 8th. He's just behind Shamak Lodek. Understandably, we stay with our leaders. What a great race this is in prospect with 6.5 laps to go. Manley very wide on the grass. That could be the opportunity for Ben Willis. Manley have to go right over to go defensive. Willis is going to be on the left-hand side, but he'll put him on the outside for Druids. Manley gives him room. Willis is right side by side again. Can he get it turned in? He's going to go wide. He's going out to the grass. He might go off. He's got it back on. Great bit of driving by Ben Willis. Nearly made the same mistake he did in race 1, and he lives to fight another day as long as he can hold off Ben Bennyworth. Absolutely cracking racing. Willis, understandably, want to take the opportunity, but Lewis Manley, great driving, making sure he wasn't on the optimal line. We go on board with Willis here, 2 wheels on the grass. 9 times out of 10, you do that at Druids, you're in the barrier. We saw it happen to Willis in race 1, but he's managed to hold on, and he's locking himself straight back onto the back of the Corolla. 6 laps to go. What a race this is. Quick update further back. John Dean Smith's back up to 7th now. He's past Shamak Lodek. This battle between Wilson and Brown continues to rage, but we want to stay with our race leaders. There is Colin Talbot and Nathan Burton. They had a ding-dong in race 1. They're having a ding-dong in race 2 over 9th spot, but understandably, this is what we want to see. And this might get closer yet, because Adam Christopher, Chris Wilson, Ben Brown are all within 5-6 seconds of the leaders. This could become a real... I don't want to use the trolley train, but it could become a big trade of cars towards the last few laps, depending on how long Lewis Manley can hold out front with 5.5 laps to go. What a race this is. Up Clay Hill once again. Into Druids, first apex, back on the power, second apex. You're just going over the crest, you bring it to the right-hand side of the track just to avoid those bumps. This time they don't seem to do it as much. It was a bigger problem, the Alpine, big rear-wheel drive. Big lock-up from Manley that time. Hopefully it won't do too much damage to their tyres. They come through Lodge. Lots and lots of curb being taken and grass from Ben Willis. He really is pushing so hard, and that's brought Ben Bennyworth back into play. There's bends everywhere you look. 5 laps to go. And they come into Old Hall. Willis has had to go defensive that time. It's really going to compromise his line through Old Hall. Ben Bennyworth gets a very, very good run. There's not much of a braking zone into Cascade, though. It's not an easy place to overtake. Bennyworth unable to get it done. Adam Christopher, well, we said he was suffering from severe tyre wear in race 1. He's on the soft tyre in race 2 here, as is Ben Bennyworth, and it doesn't seem to be a problem because he's now only about a second behind this leading trio. So 4.5 laps to go. Who's going to win? Who's going to finish on the podium? We've absolutely no idea. Quick note to Callum Cripps, if you're watching this, as much as we love your driving, please stay at home, because this is far more entertaining watching this for the women. You're not here. Only joking, Callum. It's going to be great to see you back for our next round, which is at Croft on the 18th of December. Jack Ashton, I'm sure, will be back as well. We go back to our leaders now. Manley, Willis, Bennyworth. There's Adam Christopher. 26.4 last time round, where everyone else was around a high 26 and a low 27. He is coming, using that soft tyre to good effect. We saw John Dean Smith do well with it in the first race as well, and Willis is now right back on the rear of Lewis Manley. Going to be 4 laps to go as they cross the line. And Willis is really close. Willis is very close. Willis might fancy a chance at Old Hall. Manley goes defensive once again. Going to compromise his line. Can Willis take the late apex? Maybe not take too much curb on the exit next time. He can, and Manley took a lot more. This is giving him a real chance. We go on board with Ben Willis now. There's just a few inches between them. Manley goes very defensive. He's not going to go round the outside. If he can hold it on there, and he'll have the inside line for the hairpin, there's just not enough grip as you come round Cascades. On board with Bennyworth, who's just as close. Who knows what's going to happen as they come into the hairpin. Manley defensive. Willis defensive. Bennyworth tries to go all around the outside. Adam Christopher's now there. It's 4th for the lead. Absolutely superb racing in race 2 at Oulton Park. Manley, Willis, Bennyworth, Christopher, and just over 1 second between the 4 of them with 3.5 laps to go. It's like a virtual version of a Moto 3 race. It's absolutely superb to watch. Who is going to come out on top? We'll know in about 5 minutes' time, but right now, it could be any one of these 4 to win the race. Lewis Manley doing everything he can to hold on to take his 2nd win in a row, 3rd win of the season, and as long as he finishes in this lead quartet, the championship lead as well. Through Druids. Down to Lodge. Again, Manley defensive. Again, Willis goes for the wider line. Through Deer Leap. Again, Manley will have to try and cover Willis. Down to Old Hall, but this time I think he's got enough that he can stick with the racing line. 3 laps to go. Absolutely brilliant racing at Oulton Park. Pennyworth, a bit of a compromise run. We'll keep an eye and see if Adam Christopher sees if he can make a move into the hairpin. We're on board with Adam Christopher. They're probably the best seat in the house at the moment. Into the hairpin for the 13th time. Are they getting closer and closer all the time? And this time, well, Adam Christopher just couldn't get it turned in because there was a Pennyworth there. Oh, and now they're side by side for the lead again. I think Lewis Manning may have just lost a bit of track from the outside, but Willis is on the outside coming into Hizzies. Can he try and get it turned in front? I think he can. He's got it done. He's got it done into Hizzies, and Ben Willis takes the lead with 2.5 laps to go. Absolutely superb move around the outside into Hizzies. We're on board in the picture of it with Ben Pennyworth. Manley went defensive maybe a little bit too much because he realised just didn't have the drive, and Ben Willis, he left the room. Fair play to him for that one, and managed to get the move done. And gets it through at the chicane, and Ben Willis, 2 seconds and 2/3 the last 4 races, is on course to turn it into a victory. And now Lewis Manley's got even bigger problems because Ben Pennyworth and Adam Christopher are all over the back of him. He might not end up on the podium at all here. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, nose to tail, 2 laps to go now. Christopher's past Pennyworth. He might get past Manley here as well. Is it going to be 2 in 2 corners? It is 2 in 2 corners. Great work by Adam Christopher to move from 4th to 2nd. Has he got enough time on this soft tyre to chase down Ben Willis and win the race? You just don't know which way this one's going to go. Lap 14 of 50. You don't want it to end. It's absolutely superb racing. Great driving by all 4 of them. And now Lewis Manley under pressure from Pennyworth. He might lose his podium here. Round the outside, Pennyworth will try to go. Manley, you can see he's struggling for grip. Pennyworth on the soft tyre, remember. Lewis Manley has that to come in race 3. That will work in his favour. The top 2 have gone away, but Adam Christopher, after all his tyre wear issues and dropping back from 2nd off the podium and finishing 5th in race 1, he's sensing a chance to pick up his 2nd win of the year. His only win of the year so far was at Donington back in August. It was a reverse grid win in race 3. He looked like he'd have a chance for a great podium finish, but Thruxton got involved in that crash with Ashton and Cripps on the last lap. Now he senses a chance to snatch one here from Ben Willis. 1 win between them from the 10 races we've had so far this season. And can Ben Willis hold on? Manley and Pennyworth, the battle for 3rd. Ben Brown's catching, well, I think he's going to run out of laps because we come through Lodge, down the hill and up through Deer Leap now to start the last lap. 4, 5 car lengths, that's all it is between Ben Willis and Adam Christopher. On to the last lap. Through Old Hall. Every bit of the green you can take and then some for both drivers. Through Cascade onto the Island Loop, and Willis has got enough in hand at the moment. I don't think he quite has to start taking defensive line at the moment. He should be okay to take the hairpin as normal. Through they come. Lewis Manley does have to go more defensive to hold off Ben Pennyworth. It's going to be another last lap scrap for Ben Pennyworth to try and get on the podium. He's had 1 today already. That one was successful. Now he's all over the back of Lewis Manley. Can he try and do the same as what Ben Willis did just a couple of laps ago? Not for now. There's almost a little bit of contact, I think. Ben Brown is right there in 5th. I think he's going to run out of laps. John B. Smith recovered well in the background in 6th spot. As we go back to the leaders, all mistake for Manley. He's gone wide, and that's going to get the traction to Ben Pennyworth. And I think Manley's going to lose his podium spot. Pennyworth is through, and Ben Brown might try and come through as well as they come into Druids for the final time. Oh, I think it's going to be some contact. Ben Pennyworth went wide. Manages to just hold on to it. Manley still ahead of Brown. It's going to be Ben Willis. I think he's going to win the race. Yes, he is. He's finally going to get his first win on the board. Manley locks up into Lodge. Just don't know where to look. And he's gone wide, and Brown's got past him into Lodge. Ben Willis wins it. Adam Christopher 2nd. Ben Pennyworth 3rd for the 2nd time today. Then it's Ben Brown. Lewis Manley just couldn't hold on and finish his 5th. And breathe. What? Now, I thought race 1 was good. Well, race 1 was good. That was something else. What an absolutely superb race And don't forget, race 3 is going to be a reverse grid as well. Willis, Christopher, Bennyworth, Brown, Manley, Dean Smith, Wilson, Burton, Tyler, Talbot, and then unfortunately Max Spooner and Shamak Lodic both had to visit the pits as they both did in race 1. Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, it shows how the tyre wear really went, because the last laps, 26.9, 27.0 Barding Christopher, and Ben Bennyworth and Ben around the 29s. Lewis Manley's last lap was in the 1:31s. It was more than 6.5 seconds slower than the fastest lap of the race that he did. An absolutely superb race. We'll be back with Grant in just a couple of minutes' time for the what should be fascinating interviews. Stay with us here at Simply Race, because you will not want to miss race 3.
And after a thrilling, once again, race 2, a little bit of deja vu, we're joined by, once again, third place driver, Ben Bennyworth. Ben, a little bit of a different way to race in that one, but all exciting nonetheless.
Yeah, pretty much like the start of the first race. I managed to keep on the back of Willis and Manley throughout the whole of it. And then just sort of slowly, as soon as they started scrapping, I kind of just came into it. My tyres started getting more and more, had more grip. And then out of nowhere, Adam Christopher comes out of nowhere, and that was it. He got past me, and then I managed to kind of stick behind the back of Lewis going on to the last lap. And so I'm on the back of Lewis, and he ran a little bit wide coming out of Nickelbrook, and that was it. Up the inside, just took third place, like pretty much like last time.
Fantastic. Well, really good points day today as well, like just bagging those points in. So just been a really strong day in as a whole. Obviously, we'll be finding out the reverse grid draw quite soon. Obviously, with your 2 very strong results, well, you're going to be third from the back of the reverse grid no matter what happens. So looking forward to doing some overtaking, or are you sort of a little bit more cautious about race 3?
Yeah, a bit more cautious, kind of just let everyone else scrap, let everyone else just make mistakes, and I'm just there to pick up pieces, basically. Game.
Fair play. Well done for race 2, and we'll thank you. And if we could have second place is Adam Christopher join us now, please. Apologies for the tight squeeze, sir. Yeah, it's probably a bit better to go over the rig, but it's fine. The camera has it. Are we still good? If you want to come a little closer. How's that? Yeah, cool. Lovely. So we're joined now by P2, Adam Christopher. Lots of action in that race, lots of overtaking. Very exciting. A bit of a train as well. It looks like you made the soft tyres work, though, after a lot of reservations about the medium tyres after race 1. It seemed like the soft tyres really worked for you there.
Yeah, it's my nemesis tyre wear. Like in race 1, just absolutely went through them. And I having to be so delicate just on the throttle, the steering lock I'm putting in, to the point where halfway through the race I was thinking I'm being too conservative here. I've lost too much time. And it was weird. Over the course of like 2 or 3 laps, they just all suddenly came back to me. And I took a little bit of life at the end when I got a bit too excited once I caught them. But yeah, managed them well. I honestly didn't think that was going to happen. I was driving quite far off the pace, but just nursing the tyres just came good in the end.
Awesome, a really nice, sensible strategy to get you to the end of the race. But a really, really strong race, and once again, that really nice, clean overtaking that you're becoming very known for in the series, really paying off for you. Obviously, probably going to be your biggest ally in race 3, because now, obviously, being P2 in that race, it could affect you quite a bit once the draw is revealed. Thoughts going into race 3? Just going to go conservative, or just going to continue as always?
Honestly, I don't have R factor, so I'm learning all the time about tyre wear, and it's so important. I was almost treating the first half of that race like a practice session. So honestly, race 3 is similar. Just take it easy. I'll probably be very patient, and just hopefully that if I can just look after the tyres, everyone else will fall off, and then make our way through the end.
Looking forward to going back onto the mediums now that you've run a whole race on the softs and managed to get through to the end after a sort of shaky race 1 with them.
Yeah, it's all learning. Every race is it's a learning curve. I'm learning more about how R factor works, the tyre wear. So yeah, looking forward to this one. Be good.
They're getting more dangerous as each race progresses. Well done to Adam Christopher. P2 in race number 2 will now be joined by our race winner. So Ben is coming. Lovely bit of parkour there as he makes his way over. If you want to come in a little closer, how is that? How do we look? My lovely director. And I just heard blub, so I'm going to take that as that's a bit closer. I don't know how much closer you can get to me without it being uncomfortable, Dane, but we'll try that. So, well done, Ben. A bit of a battle and a move around the outside on Lewis Manley. We don't see that too often. Let's talk us through that.
Yeah, it was just a great race, really. Spent most of it just trying to do my best to get past Lewis, save a bit of tyre for most of the race. And then I saw he was kind of going a bit deep into a few corners, and I just thought, if I can get the run out of the hairpin, just see what I can do. I managed to stick around the outside, nice clean move, great racing, and then tried to run away as much as I could before the soft tyre runners caught up, because they were rapid at the end. So, yeah, pretty good.
It's quite an interesting balance with a soft tyre. It seems like a lot of people found a lot of speed of it in race 2, whereas a lot of people had a lot of reservations about using it in race number 1 itself. So it's quite interesting to see how in race 2 it seemed okay. It seemed like the faster tyre, to be honest. Like, I mean, Adam Christopher had no tyres left at the end of race 1. Manley had no tyres in race 2 with the mediums. Yet people are finding more grip with that soft tyre. Very interesting. So we'll see how race 3 progresses. Is this your soft tyre race? I believe it is, isn't it? So I imagine you're looking forward to that.
Yeah, based on the evidence, I think if I can keep it alive for the first half, I might just have to be a bit patient, but just do my best, try and get through the reverse grid traffic and give it a go.
Okay, so because you're with us, and because it doesn't affect it does affect your position, but you're not going to put yourself on pole position, and it's a completely random pick, because as you can see, I've got a bucket with lots and lots of paper in. You just want to put your hand in blindly, and then once you've got a piece, if you want to unfold that and let us know what that says, it's number 6. There you go. We'll show that to the camera. We've double written that as well. So, okay, it's not the worst that could have happened then.
I'll take that. That's probably the best that could have gone. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to race 3, which will be on very, very shortly. We'll go back to the static images, and then we'll get into race 3 very soon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Ben. See you maybe after race 3.
Fingers crossed.
Welcome back to Oulton Park. We've had two absolutely superb races so far in the Simply Race Touring Car Championship. We've reached the midpoint of the season here, and we've now got the reverse grid race 3 to enjoy 15 more laps to round off the day. Please do rewind this video and watch races 1 and 2 if you've not seen them already. Been absolutely superb. We had the number that was drawn out of the magic bucket was 6, so top 6 in reverse. With me, John Dean Smith, who's had a 3rd and a 6th. There we are, you can see him in that BMW on his maiden touring car. Again, he's on pole position, but look who's alongside him. Lewis Manley had severe tyre wear problems in the last 3 laps of race 2. He fell from 1st all the way back to 5th, but it does mean he's on the front row for race 3. Ben Brown and Ben Bennyworth are on row 2. Adam Crisp on row 3, head of the race 2 winner Ben Willis. Ben Willis 5 podiums in a row, and he'll be looking to try and take another win and keep on his absolutely superb form play. Then it's Chris Wilson, Nathan Burton, Michael Tyler, Colin Talbot, Max Spooner, and unfortunately Shamak Lodek has not been able to join us. He's withdrawn from race 3, so just the 11 cars on the grid. But the cars that we've had out there so far have given us some absolutely stunning racing today. There's also an interesting element to watch out for from a championship perspective, because Lewis Manley's 1st and 5th so far today means he's now level on points on 162 with Callum Cripps in the championship. Because Lewis Manley will have to drop around later in the year. I understand from him that it's going to be the Donington GP round in January that he's going to miss, but he will hope to get big points here and at least give himself a bit of a buffer going into the next round at Croft a week before Christmas. Lewis Manley is also one of 3 drivers in this race who are running the option soft tyre. Ben Willis, the race 2 winner, and Colin Talbot are the others. And we have seen, particularly late in the race, that the drivers on the soft tyre have really tended to come good. So Lewis Manley comes in, but watch out for Willis starting 6th, Talbot starting 10th, coming through the field in this final 15 lap of counter of what has been an enthralling day at Oulton Park. Dean Smith and Manley on the front row, then Brown, Bennyworth, Christopher, Willis behind. Another 15 laps, our final race of the day at Oulton Park. The red lights are on. Long hold, the race starts now. Good start for Lewis Manley, but he's on the outside going into the first corner. Dean Smith will try and hold the advance. They come through. All the way around the outside goes Lewis Manley. He's gone way off the track. I don't think he's going to get the grip to try and hold on to the position. And he has gone through all around the outside and he is through. Manley leads. Dean Smith 2nd. Ben Brown and contacting Brown and Dean Smith at Cascades on the first lap of the race for the 2nd race in a row. It's Manley, then Brown, then Dean Smith in 3rd as they come up to the hairpin for the first time. Ben Brown trying to go all the way round the outside. He's had a 6th and a 4th so far today. He's looking for a podium, but he can't do it, and that's allowed Don Dean Smith to come back into fun. There's more contact between the 2 of them. Christopher's 4th, Bennyworth is 5th. No progress yet for Ben Willis. He's still in 6th place, but here he's coming through now, though. He's got past Ben Bennyworth. Will he get it done on the inside, coming into his ease? Yes, he will. Ben Willis, race 2 winner, up into 5th spot. So Manley, Brown, Dean Smith, Christopher, Willis, Bennyworth, side by side, Manley and Brown for the lead. Brown's got the inside, just almost covered some on the grass. They come up to the top of Clay Hill, but he gets the move done before Druids, and Ben Brown, looking for his first podium of the day, takes the lead before the end of the first lap, and that's going to give Lewis Manley plenty of work to do as they come up to Lodge for the first time. More great action here. We've seen 3 great first lap of these races so far as they come down into Lodge. We'll look at Chris Wilson making attack on Ben Bennyworth. That's for 6th spot. It's 2.5 seconds in the top 6 at the moment. At the end of the first lap, it's Brown, Manley, Dean Smith, Christopher, Willis, Bennyworth, Wilson, Burton, Spooner, Talbot and Tyler. And I'm very glad to say all 11 cars have managed to get through the first lap cleanly. We go back to the leaders. John Dean Smith coming under a lot of pressure now from Adam Christopher. Christopher had a really good run, very close to winning race 2 on the soft tyre. Big dive up the inside from Adam Christopher on John Dean Smith, and I think Dan Willis is going to try and follow through as well, and they're going to go for a twofer. Christopher's through, and it's going to be Dean Smith and Willis side by side. A little bit of contact, but it's Willis, crucially, who'll have the inside line for Hizzy, the chicane that comes at the end of the straight as they come down the hill. And he's going to get it done. Christopher up to 3rd, Willis up to 4th, and John Dean Smith falling back to 5th, and at the moment he's not able to make this pole position pay. Back up Clay Hill towards Druids and Lodge, towards the end of this 2nd lap. Ben Brown has built up a little bit of a lead over Lewis Manley. He's slightly quicker on this lap so far. The gap's up to about 0.7 of a second. Ben Bennyworth and Chris Wilson both in the background on the grass. They come into Lodge once again. Brown and Manley well clear. Remember that Lewis Manley is on the soft tyre. Ben Brown has already used his. It was a 26.1 for Ben Brown against a 26.4 for Lewis Manley last time round. And Ben Willis, who is on the soft tyre in 4th place, the only other driver in the 26 is doing a 26.9. We're on board with John Dean Smith in 5th. We're looking ahead to Willis, and just in front of him there is Adam Christopher. They come up to the hairpin once again. Oh, how did Ben Willis find a gap round the outside there? I don't think he's going to get the move to stick. He's done really, really well. He's still there. Now, he pulled off a great move on Lewis Manley going into the chicane to take the lead late on in race 2. He might have the drive. That is an absolutely stunning move by Ben Willis, and that shows the extra grip you can get with the soft tyre. Ben Willis looking for his 6th podium in a row, and also now looking for his 2nd win in a row. He's up to 3rd place, and he's less than a second behind Lewis Manley, and Willis will be delighted it's taken him just 2.5 laps to work his way from 6th all the way up to 3rd. Almost contact there. That was Chris Wilson in the back of Ben Bennyworth. Almost a little bit of contact there. They fight for 6th and 7th spot. These guys are only 4 seconds off the lead. Really, really high-class competitive racing here at Oulton Park as we reach the midpoint of the season. And there's an off, and I think that was John Dean Smith's gone off at Lodge. He has gone off at Lodge. I think he's just put too much power on, and the BMW has gone off by the campsite. Been an up and down opening day of touring car race. John, let's have a look at the replay. Right around him, Chris, when he's just got on the power, and the rear wheel drive's just come around on him a bit too much. Easily done. He's done well not to spin it round, actually, other than going into the barriers, but it has dropped the back of the field. Within a couple of 100 metres of a podium in race 1, but very much a learning process, but a very competitive start for the Alpine graduate. Back to the front. Brown has a 1.2 second lead. Ben Brown, is he looking for his first win of the year? Ben Brown's only had 1 podium so far. That was a 3rd place in the reverse grid race, race 3, at Brands Hatch back in September. And I think this would make him about the 5th, 6th winner so far. I think this would make him the 6th different race winner so far this year. If he can get the job done, there's a long way to go. We're on board with Ben Bennyworth. Him and Adam Christopher have been like glue for most of the day through all 3 of these races, and they're still fighting here over 4th and 5th position. Both on the main medium tyre now. They're not on the options like Manley and Willis, who are 2nd and 3rd. As they come into Lodge once again to come around to complete. Like, I can't believe we've only had 4 laps. It feels like we've had about 8 or 9. That just shows how good the racing's been today as they start lap number 5. Ben Brown now leading by 1.4 seconds. But this race is far from over. Manley and Willis are 2nd and 3rd, both on the soft tyre. And that should come towards them later in the race from what we've seen with other drivers in races 1 and 2. So this race, even though Ben Brown's pulling away at the moment, at 26.1 last time round, at 26.4 for Manley, is far from a foregone conclusion. Oh, I think it was someone off in the back. I think that might have been Colin Talbot's gone off. Yes, he had gone off. And Michael Tyler has managed to take 9th place as a result. I think Colin just getting a little bit, coming a little bit too hot into the cascades. He has been joined in 10th, still in front of John Dean Smith. You can just see in the background there. It's been another entertaining afternoon of driving for Colin Talbot, who was not even close to getting round the corner, frankly. I'm sure Colin, by his own admission, will be happy to own up to that one. But he has managed to rejoin. Back on board with Ben Bennyworth. To Druids once again, take the 2nd apex. Over the crest, under the road bridge. Up towards Lodge, but certainly not close enough there to have him make a move on Adam Christopher. Got a little bit more spread out at the front. Ben Willis has not really made much inroad into Lewis Manley yet. He's still a 2nd behind him. He's done a fastest middle sector of the race. The fastest lap actually by Lewis Manley. He's dipped into the 25s. The leaders' lap times that time around 26.2 for Brown, 25.8 for Manley, and a 26.0 for Willis. Christopher and Bennyworth both in a 26.9. So the top 3 romping away But this race will all come down to how well Ben Brown's medium tyres hold on in the remaining, 9 3/4 laps we have left in this final race of the day. Battle now, and Ben Bennyworth is getting closer and closer to Adam Christopher. And I think he's being held up now because you can see Chris Wilson is coming back into play. He's less than a second now behind Ben Bennyworth. There is car number 68, that blue, white and silver livery you can see in the background. And we're going to have a three-way battle for 4th place, I think, very, very shortly. Nathan Burton isn't too far behind as well in 7th place. He's had a difficult day so far. So at 7th place, that would definitely be his best result of the day if he can get it. We go back to the leaders, and look how much Ben Willis has closed up on this lap. 4/10 out of Lewis Manley in the first sector, 2 more in the second. Let's see what the lap times the top 3 do as they complete lap 6, because I think it's all coming together quite nicely. Ben Brown 26.9, Lewis Manley 26.7, Ben Willis 26.1, and suddenly there's only 1.4 seconds between the top 3. Through Cascades once again. We look at the back of the field, the recovering Colin Talbot and John Dean Smith. Here they come, the Red Army. Through Avenue into Cascades, Colin Talbot goes defensive. And I almost thought JDS was going to lose it there because he took a really strange line. I thought he was going to go straight on. He's got it there. Will he try and stick it up the inside of the hairpin? We'll come back to that very shortly. We go back to the leaders because Ben Willis is now all over the back of Lewis Manley. It took him several laps to prise open the gap to get past him in race 2 and win the race, but he did eventually manage to do it. Can he do it again? Ben Willis's form in the last 5 races: 2nd, 3rd, 3rd, 2nd, 1st. In your picture-in-picture, you see live pictures of the battle for 10th place. You look on board with John Dean Smith looking ahead to Colin Talbot, who's lost a bit of grip as they come up Clay Hill, so we'll keep an eye on that as well. Lots of action through the field. Well, I don't think big gap up the inside there, but John Dean's been taking a lot of grass and everything. And Colin Talbot's gone off. He forced Colin Talbot into the mistake, and Colin's gone off at Druids. Forced him into a suboptimal line. It was a good bit of driving just to try and draw the error out. And Colin will rejoin at the back of the field, and John Dean Smith is back up into 10th position. Into the second half of this race. Not much between the leaders' lap times last time round. Brown 26.4, Manley 26.7, Willis 26.5. We're halfway through a race that maybe hasn't had all the absolute thrills of the first 2 races, but is still an absorbing race nonetheless. We really have all been treated to some absolutely cracking racing at Oulton Park this afternoon. We go on board with Ben Willis in 3rd, chasing down the man who, as things stand right now, is the joint championship leader. 20 for a win, 17 for 2nd, 15 for 3rd, so this would obviously give him a 17-point lead over Callum Cripps and 37 over Jack Ashton. They will both be back at Croft December the 18th. I believe there is a big football match on that afternoon. You don't need to watch it. Make sure you watch this. It'll be far more exciting. Through Druids they come. They'll come under the bridge and up to Lodge for the 8th time. We're into the second half of the race now. Little bit of a wheel on the grass again from Ben Willis. Those super aggressive lines he likes to take. Another bit of a controlled lock-up from Manley. You can really see both drivers, different characteristics, their styles in action here. Willis put 2 wheels on the grass at every opportunity. Manley getting his braking points right, exactly right. Those little controlled lock-ups. You see them just at every major braking point on the track. But it has to be said, Ben Brown has stretched out his advantage and he now leads by a 1.5 seconds. I think it will all come down to tyre degradation if he's going to deny Ben Brown his first win of the season. Started 3rd after he finished 4th in race 2. But in a very good position here with about 6.5 laps to go. Back down the hill to Hizzies. Manley and Willis still there. Really not much to separate this top 3. Battle further back. Max Spooner, he's had a difficult day. He's going to try and come to the inside of Michael Tyler here. or just overcooked it, but he manages to block off the response, and a good move for Max Spooner there. But it very always gone wide in Knickerbock, and I was just about to talk about the commentator's curse. Tyler's taking a funny line through Clay Hill, though. Great battle here. I think the two identical cars here. This is for 8th and 9th spot. John D. Smith's about 3 seconds behind, so he will look to be coming up to these guys probably pretty soon. Very wide line from Tyler. Almost went onto the grass. That's allowed Spooner to come back on as they come back toward Lodge. And then we now go back to Manley and Willis, because Willis is right there, and they are both closing on Ben Brown. The gap's down to 1 second. Both of them back in the low 26s and half a second quicker than Ben Brown that time around. Brown on the medium tyre, Manley and Willis on the soft. Are Ben Brown's tyres starting to give out on him as we reach the latter stages of this race? We've seen it happen to a lot of the drivers on the medium tyres in races 1 and 2, most notably Ben Brown in race 2. I think something's happened to Max Spooner because he's fallen well back down the field. He's behind John Dean Smith. It really has been a very, very difficult day for him. And here was a battle with Michael Tyler. Up the inside, did he overcook it, or he's just gone straight on again? And that's been a recurring problem for Max Spooner today. And I just don't think he's been able to get his braking points right. And I know he has felt very, very frustrated. So I'm sure he will be back at Croft to fight another day. Ben Brown's lead is down to less than a second. Lewis Manley was a quarter of a second quicker than him at Sector 1. And the gap is continuing to come down a little bit slower in Sector 2. So Brown all right for the time being. But Manley is coming, and he's bringing Willis with him. They'll come into Lodge now, and then through Deer Leap to complete lap number 10. 5 laps to go at the end of this one. And once again, for the third time today, we come into the latter stages of a Simply Race Touring Car Championship race, and we have absolutely no idea who is going to win it. All the other cars further back, fairly well spaced at the moment, so this is where the big battle lies, with little more than 1 second between the top 3. Manley with 2 wins to his name this season. Willis now with 1 after just winning race 2 here. Brown yet to win this season. Up towards Hilltop. Over the brow, down towards Hizzies. Oh, move up the inside. We didn't expect that coming from Lewis Manley. It was an opportunistic move, but Ben Willis is through. We were on board with Lewis Manley. I don't think we were expecting Ben Willis to make a move from there, because normally we know Manley really loves to take a very defensive line, but Ben Willis has got through, and now he has just over 4 laps to chase down Ben Brown. It was from a fair way back. I'm not sure Lewis Manley was expecting it, but Ben Willis, great move, up into second spot. It caught Lewis Manley by surprise. It caught me by surprise. But Ben Willis is P2. He's 1 second behind Ben Brown. He's got the more advantageous softer tyre, and he's got 4 laps left to catch him and pass him and make it back-to-back wins. Ben Willis was half a second quicker, faster than Ben Brown last time round, despite the fact that he's got good drops. He's half a length behind and just controls the braking very well, takes a line, covers up the response through the second apex. It was a really, really nice clinical move there from Ben Willis. Even cleaner than the one that he managed on Lewis Manley towards the end of race 2. So, it's Ben on Ben. We've got a race on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Brown, Ben Willis. Lewis Manley taking a watching brief in case something happens to either of the front 2. They come over Hilltop. We've got 3.5 laps to go in race 3. And I think this is going to come down now to how much of that medium tyre does Ben Brown have left to use, and how much has Ben Willis been able to save in the many laps that he spent behind Lewis Manley. It's a hard one to call, this one, only because it is, even when you have the differential in tyre performance, this is a very, very difficult track to overtake on. It's twisty. There's not a huge amount of brake point, because other than the hairpin, there's not very many slow corners. It's very narrow as well. Even for touring cars, this is a difficult track for overtaking. Through Deer Leap, the gap is visibly smaller as they complete lap 12. 3 laps left. As they come into Old Hall once again, and the gap is not much more than half a second. Manley's dropped right back. I think he's going to have to settle for third now unless something with the front runners happens. But it's Ben Brown and Ben Willis for the win with less than 3 laps to go. Ben Brown really closing up a lot under braking there. Better grip means he should be able to get on the power early. I mean, we saw that with the move he pulled on Lewis Manley in race 2, coming all the way around the outside of the hairpin and getting the traction so he can come over hilltop and pull it off around the outside. And he's getting closer and closer all the time into the chicane. Almost a little bit too late of a turn in from Ben Brown there. It's allowed Ben Willis to close up even more, and they're pretty much nose to tail as they head up Clay Hill for the 13th time. Less than a quarter of a second between them on the clock, but it's the distance between them on the track at this stage that is more important as they come through Druids. And Ben Willis have a very, very wide line there. And Ben Willis is going to get a good run. He might actually fancy his chances of getting a run into Lodge, and it forces Ben Brown to go defensive. Good bit of defensive driving, but look how close Ben Willis is now. That's just a few inches between them. What 1, 2 feet even. Through Deer Leap, trying to forge out a gap. Ben Willis over the line. 2 laps to go. Fastest middle sector for Ben Willis on the last lap, and it showed just how much he closed up. They're almost nose tail, there's almost contact. He's not going to find a gap into the avenue, surely. Although Willis has to go defensive, there's a little bit of contact as Willis tries to stand his ground. Well, Brown tries to stand his ground, I should say, and Willis tries to take his line. Brown goes defensive. I think that's going to be something we're going to be saying a lot over the next, 2.5 minutes between now and the end of this race. Round the hairpin for the penultimate time. Back up towards Hilltop and down towards Izzy's. Brown and Willis. Ben v Ben for the win. Willis doesn't fancy it to Hizzy's, his favourite place to overtake so far. He's only going to get one more opportunity there if he needs it. Through Knickerbrook, you can see the corner speed that Willis has got. He's so much quicker as they come the drag up to Clay Hill. Up through Clay Hill, I should say, towards Druids. 1 lap and 2 or 3 corners to go. A good run through Druids might set for a run through Lodge. Willis will have to go defensive here because Brown has to go defensive because of Willis's corner speed. Brown feels like he's got enough of a gap, and Willis is not going to go up the inside this time. Through Lodge, here we go, through Deer Leap, and on to the last lap. There's not much between them, it's less than 2 tenths, but Willis is not close enough to make a move into Old Hall. Very good exit though. This will force Willis to compromise his line. For Brown to compromise his line. Should Willis get alongside? He can, but Brown still has the inside line. And I'm sure he'll defend into the hairpin as well. On board with Willis. Brown feels comfortable enough to do it. But this is the key area to try and get the traction out of the hairpin. He's done very, very well. There's only really 2 overtaking opportunities left here into Hizzy's. And Willis isn't close enough. Willis is going to have to absolutely nail it through Druids and have to send a Hail Mary up the inside into Lodge. It's the only hope he's got left now, unless Ben Brown makes a mistake. They come through Knickerbrook. That's all that's left. Clay Hill, Druids and Lodge on the last lap. Less than half a second between them up the hill. It's all going to come down to Ben Willis's exit here and the amount of drive he can get through Druids. He's bound to absolutely go for it. He has gone for it. He's closed up, taking all the curb he can, but it's going to be a real lunge from there if he's going to go for it. He looks up the inside. I don't think he can do it from there unless he can take a late apex and try and get him on a run to the line. He hasn't done, and Ben Brown, I think, will just about be able to hold on for his first win of the season. A great drive. Ben Willis will come to naught, but it's a 6th podium in a row, and Ben Brown gets his first win of the season by less than 0.3 of a second. Lewis Manley has to settle for 3rd place. There's a battle here. This is Chris Wilson and the recovering John D. Smith for 6th. John D. Smith going to go all around the outside of him, and I think he's got it done. Unless there's contact, there's going to be a bit of contact, but I think John D. Smith can hang on to the line. Adam Christopher was 4th, Ben Bennyworth for 5th, and a great move round the outside at Lodge, and John D. Smith relieves Chris Wilson a 6th place. Colin Talbot has gone off at his ease on the last lap, so he's going to finish at the back of the field. Nathan Burton 8th, the better result for him today, and then Michael Tyler and Max Spooner. So maybe not all the thrilling action we had in races 1 and 2, but a great race 3 nonetheless. 3 different winners today as well, a new championship leader in Lewis Manley, And Ben Brown getting his first win of the year, holding off a sustained assault in the final lap from Ben Willis. Grant will be with you in a few minutes for the interviews. My name's Dan McCalla. Thank you very much for your company this afternoon. And we'll see you all again at Croft for the next round on December the 18th. Stay with us for the Race 3 interviews in a couple of minutes' time.
Okay, I'm just going to wait for a cue. I've muted it. I set it to mute. Okay, guys, right, so for all the gather ourselves around the podium, we're going to go to our third place driver today, Ben Brown, in third place. Second place today on the podium with 46 points was Lewis Manley, so well done, Lewis. And our event winner with 54 out of 60 points was Ben Willis. So apparently they can hear us really well on the webcam. So we'll just do some kind of weird interview like this. I don't really know how that's going to work, but let's give it a go. So we'll start with Ben. Well, Ben, race 3. Interesting one for you.
Yeah, much better. It was fun. Yeah. I didn't crash myself. It was great, yeah.
Found a little bit of extra performance from the car then?
No, just stopping.
It's always a big help. We'll keep it at that man a few words. Move on to second place, Lewis. Those of you near the webcam, guys, just while we're doing this, because we're picking up audio on that. Thank you. That's terribly unprofessional. So we're with Lewis, second place on the podium today. Nice little comeback, made a lot of points today. Is now our championship leader, if my maths is correct. So a lot of positives, but also something to work on as well, I guess.
Pretty much, just haven't had the car today compared to Friday, so frustrating really. Race 2 especially, I couldn't hold on with the tyres, but much better race 3, so I will take some positives from this. And as now got the next one, that's the most important. There's no real drive such have a success on that circuit, so hopefully it's not too much of a bigger gap.
Well, you see, I mean, with the different version of Cross that we are running this year, it's a bit wider, so it should be a little less chaotic than the first couple of corners. But hopefully it should be a good event. Maybe come down and get some practice in amongst the laps where he's around Cross. We'll finally come to Mr. Willis. This is a really weird way to interview. It's like a real drop. Well done, Ben. Third time, I think you're the only person I've spoken to after all 3 races.
I think so.
Yep, so well done for that. Well done for being captain consistent. First, SRTC event win, I want to say.
Yeah.
So congratulations on that. That's amazing. Big round of applause for that one. For our remaining audience, the stragglers. But yeah, really strong performance all day. Just good performance on the softs in the race 3.
Yeah, I felt great all day. Felt a bit win in practice, but once we're used to it, so quick. So it's just been really good performance-wise on the softs at the end. Managed them a little bit and then caught up to
Amazing, awesome. Well, well done to everybody that took part in the races today. We'll be updating the points as soon as we possibly can. But thank you all for coming down today. Really hope that everyone enjoyed themselves. Hope you all enjoyed watching at home, and we will see you at Trough next month for a Christmassy race. Don't expect Christmas lights. No. Yes, might as well be. Right, well done everybody. Thank you so much.